Welcome, welcome to a historical making night. That song sums up what we're going to talk about tonight. So if I can invite our honored guests up here, Rick and Karen, will you please come to the platform, please? Let me tell you, I'm excited you are here because we are making history. I tell you, this has been an exciting time. Can you imagine 25 years in one location? Let alone pastoring a church with all its ups and downs. Are you kidding me? Rick and Karen, over here, over here, over here. Front and center. All right, all right. A huge, huge achievement. Do you know that the average tenure of a pastor in a church is probably 3 to 5 years? They've been here 25 years. That inspires me like you wouldn't believe. And what they've done, the legacy they have left, there's not a life in this room they have not touched. There's not a life in the ministry they've had before they have not touched. And then the ministry goes around the world. Rick and Karen's legacy of hard work and integrity will go on forever in my life and your life. And I want you to know we're going to celebrate tonight 25 years of awesome ministry from a couple that knew God's calling, accepted that challenge, and took it as a job. And look at us today. We're standing here today to celebrate Rick and Karen's 25 years of ministry at the Grace Place. Rick's a great man. But what's the old saying? Behind every great man is what? All right, a great woman.
And we all love that great woman, don't we? Truly, Karen has been a wonderful helpmate to Rick, and I've seen this over the years, that whatever he does, she supports him. She is 100% behind him in everything that they do. They are definitely great partners together. Although, I don't think anybody would think that Karen is the silent partner. But
nor passive.
no, not passive either. But Karen, we truly do appreciate you and the impact that you have on the women in the church that you've come in contact with. And the thing is that we know that you love and you care, and we really do appreciate that.
And to show our appreciation, we have a small little gift we'd like to present to Rick and Karen from the church family. There you go. Also, can I care if I read it? It says, 25 years at the Grace Place, Rick and Karen Addison, thank you for your investing and making a difference in people's lives. 1993 to 2018.
Wow, fantastic. That's beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful.
And we would like to give you an opportunity. In your bulletin, you have a card. It says words of appreciation. So we'd like for you to write what Rick and Karen mean to you, and as you go out, there's baskets right by the door. So, we'd love to have you put those in there and just let them know what they mean to you. But wait a minute, David. Isn't there something else?
I think we're missing a very small portion of this ceremony. Oh, here it comes now. All right.
Oh, that's
Rick and Karen, your church family loves you. They care for you. And we as a church family has taken a gift for you. They want you to know that how much we care, love you, in the amount of $25,000.
Oh, my good Lord.
$1,000 per year for 25 years of awesome service building God's kingdom.
Bless your heart.
And it's real, trust me. It's from your flock.
That's unbelievable.
It's from your flock, and we are your flock. You are the shepherd, and we are your flock.
I'm going to say for 50 years you're going to do that. Not quite. Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't even know how to say thank you, okay? We've never had anything done like that in our entire lifetimes. and I cannot. No, yeah. Bless you guys. That's the best way I can put it. And thank you so very, very, very much for just all the incredible support that you guys provide for Karen and for me and doing what we're doing. And I know that many of you are aware that when I was 17 years old, this is what God called me to do. And we were having dinner Thursday evening with Karen's oldest sister and her husband. And we were talking about things and some pretty important stuff. And his name's Charlie. And I said, Charlie, if I had to do over again, there's very few things I'd ever change. And certainly being a pastor is not one of the things I would ever change.
I'll be married.
I think we got almost 44 years of proof on that girl, okay? All right. So we've neither one traded the other one in. So that's right. Yeah. But I can tell you that, I have never ever seen what we do as a job, though I think I work it harder than most people work a job. It is a calling, and I've told you before that I think one of the primary reasons I'm on this planet is to pastor this church. And I cannot tell you what a great joy it is for us to have the opportunity to invest our lives. When we came here, we were 38 years old.
Yeah.
A little healthier, weren't we?
Yeah. Skinny.
Now I weigh less than I did when I was 15. So all right. But anyway. So we just want to say, I don't know how to use words that are adequate to just say thank you. That's the best way I can put it. God bless you. And I have no idea how many more years or days or weeks or months God gives me on this planet, but I intend to use every one of them, do what we can to make a difference for Jesus, okay? All right, God bless you guys, and thank you.
God bless Rick and Karen.
So very. Yeah, bless you guys.
I'd like for you to give the elders here with Rick and Karen a great big hand. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't happen unless you have good lay leadership in your church, and you have a great group of elders who are very, very supportive of this ministry, doing everything that God wants it to do, and they understand the value of Rick and Karen and the time that they've spent. My name is Rod Addison, and I'm one of Rick's brothers. I serve here at the Grace Place as an overseer, and some of you might say, what is an overseer? That is, there's 3 pastors, including myself, who serve the Grace Place as overseers. We're not on staff. We're not paid. We have our own ministries, but we gather here at least annually. We talk to Pastor Rick. Of course, I talk to him as my brother a lot, but talk to him as the pastor of this church. Our job is to be supportive and encouragers, and to help guide the big overall vision of the church, and kind of be a balancing board, also a protecting element to this church, a protector. If there's anything that is coming against this church, we're not only going to be praying, but we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with Pastor Rick and these elders, and we're going to fight for the kingdom of God and for good. And so I'm here today to not only celebrate Rick and Karen in their 25 years here as my brother, and I would have come just as his brother, but the overseers asked if I would represent our team today and this weekend and speak on their behalf. And so I'm doing that. I'm not speaking as his brother, even though it's a little hard to overlook that piece of that, but I am speaking as one of the overseers who work directly with the leadership of this church to put a prayer covering and protection, spiritual protection over this church and over the leaders of this church and this ministry. And all three of us who serve in this capacity because of two main reasons, as other than the fact that we're endeavoring to serve God. And that is, we believe in the ministry of this church, we believe in the history and the future of this church, and we believe that God has done great things, and he has many great things still to do. So we believe that. All of us are friends of this church, and we also believe in Pastor Rick. And we believe in Pastor Rick and Karen, believe that they are God's anointed leaders for this church at this time, and that we're here to support them in all that they do and help and come alongside the elders in any way that we can. I wanted to share just a couple of things. I'm not preaching, so I'll introduce the preacher to you in just a moment. But the scripture tells us that the laborer is worthy of his hire. And basically it means that when someone works and puts their hand to the task, that it's a worthy thing to honor them for that. What you guys have done this weekend, or doing this weekend, is honoring Rick and Karen, not only with words, and the words are powerful and they're meaningful, but you're also, sometimes we can say things easily, but you're putting your money, you've already put your money where your mouth is. And what a blessing. And I remember as we met with the elders and we're discussing this weekend, one of the things that everybody in that group had tremendous faith that God could do something greater than we might individually would believe for. And there was just a growing sense in that group, a conviction that $1,000 for every year of ministry here at the Grace Place would reflect a great heart of gratitude toward God and gratitude toward Rick and Karen. And I'm going to tell you, you guys did that, and thank you so much for your generosity. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17 says that those who preach and teach are actually worthy of double honor. Now, we know that we live in a time period where there's some people who are in ministry that think that they need $55 million jets and things like that. Okay, I just mentioned that just as but so we know there's extreme examples of people who are in this thing for you're going like, well, what are we in this for, or whatever. And if he's one of your favorite pastors or preachers out there, that's fine. You can be offended if you want. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it does say that if you preach and teach, you're worthy of double honor. Most pastors I know never expect double honor because they're truly men of humility. And Pastor Rick and Karen are people who have humbly served people as long as I've known them. And I grew up with Rick. I'm not saying he always served me at the house. I don't know, but he did. He was a great big brother. I will tell you that. He was a great big brother. And I'll save the stories of the times he saved me on the playground more than one time for some time later. But the uniqueness of a pastor and wife serving in one location for 25 years. David mentioned that. That is not a common thing. I know a lot of pastors. I don't know very many pastors who have served at the same place for 25 years. And so that's 1/4 of a century. That's a lot of time. And I'll tell you what happens whenever you serve that long at the same place. You have some amazing victories, and you can look around this place and you can know that God has given this place some amazing victories, but you also have some horrible battles. You have great relationships and you have tough relationships. It's like a good marriage that lasts a long time. If you walk up to somebody and they've been married 25 years and you go, oh, it must have been easy. Not easy. 25-year marriage isn't easy. It's because you learn to work through. Good leadership works through things. And Pastor Rick and Karen have learned to work through things as leaders. And so it is a tremendous, tremendous honor and for it to have a pastor for 25 years. And even though you haven't been here for this 25 years, you still benefit from it. Some of the benefits of it are just a few things I'll mention. Stability. A pastor who stays at a place for a lengthy period of time creates stability. long-term projects. This building, all the buildings on this lineup right here are all buildings that have come to be in these 25 years. And they're not far from being paid off. So if you'd like to really make Rick's weekend, go ahead and write a check and finish paying it off, okay? I mean, we're real close here, guys. So if you got a little extra, go ahead and write it and put it on there, and let's go ahead and do that. That would be awesome. But but I'm going to tell you, you don't accomplish these kinds of facilities in a 2 or 3 year pastorate. Or if you do, you leave the church in a wreck if you try. So those are some of the benefits. Also, ministries. Some of the ministries that are a part of this church, Celebrate Recovery and different ones, that have impact way beyond the four walls of this church, and far-reaching implications into the community. And I don't know if my microphone's acting up or not, but if it is, someone can give me another one. If not, I'll just keep going. And so the ministries of this church have far-reaching impact because of the stability that's been provided. Consistency. If you have a pastoral change every 3 to 5 years, what happens is you have someone comes in with a new vision. Oh, yeah, we all want to take people to heaven and everything else, but how you do that changes. So all of a sudden, it just flips things around. It gives consistency to a church. It allows for long-range planning. It allows for missions focus to happen. And I will tell you this church stands here today as a testimony, and there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have been deeply impacted by this church and its ministries over these years because of its consistent mission focus. Long-term relationships. And, long-term relationships require hard work, and it requires getting to know each other. And in doing so, though, that's what really makes life valuable. What's the value of a dedicated leader? Because Rick and Karen are dedicated leaders. And in my little bit here as an overseer, I don't have a chance to go into all the things that Karen is, but Karen is, she's a power pack, if you know that. If you don't know that, you don't know her. She is a power pack. And she has a heart as big as Texas, and it's a great blessing, and it gets her in trouble just because she just tries to help everybody every way she can. Sometimes I would say, Karen, you can't do everything. You know that. You can't do everything. Stop. But her heart wants to do it all. One of the things that's been mentioned already is Rick. If there's anything I would say is true about Rick, is he's a person very true to his calling. I can remember when he was in his late teens when he really settled his relationship with the Lord. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't a half-hearted commitment. It was a wholehearted commitment. I lived with him. I watched him. He wasn't just a Christian if things went well. He wasn't a Christian whenever things were going like he thought they ought to go. He wasn't a Christian because everybody else was being a Christian. He was a Christian because he fell in love with Jesus, and he said yes, and he bowed at the foot of the cross, and he never looked back. He didn't think he had to go live a terrible life so he'd have a great testimony. His great testimony was he fell in love with Jesus and been walking with him ever since. And I'm going to tell you, when you can follow a man of God who has walked with God consistently for as many years as Rick has, that is a tremendous, tremendous blessing. His call to preach, when he was called to preach, it wasn't a half-hearted call to preach. It wasn't a half-hearted call to ministry. There's been times along the way when tough things would happen, and I would say I felt like I've probably been like one of Job's friends to him sometimes. I go, hey, Rick, why don't you just quit? Why don't you sell cars or do something else? I mean, this is ridiculous. He said, Rod, this is all I ever wanted to do when God called me. This is all I've ever wanted to do. And I'm going to tell you, he has lived true to that commitment, and I believe he means he doesn't just get up and preach to preach. He doesn't get up and preach because it's a job. He gets up and preaches because it's a calling. Whenever he comes to see you in the hospital, he's not coming to see you in the hospital just because he's afraid he'll get a cut in his paycheck if he doesn't show up. He comes to see you in the hospital because he actually cares about you. He's your shepherd. He cares about you. Whenever he tells you something in counseling you don't want to hear, he's not doing it to make you mad. He's doing it because he loves you and he cares about you, doesn't want you to screw your life up. He's committed to integrity. Rick's one of the most integritous persons, if that's a word, that I have ever met. I'm going to tell you this. If you get Rick to tell a lie, you're better than the devil. I mean, I'm just telling you, man, that he there's been times, sometimes things are like on the line, like, well, could you, Rick's, if he's going to err, he's going to err I'm going to make sure we do it the right way. I'm going to do, there is no bend there whatsoever. Committed integrity. He's a person of convictions. He may not have a long list. I have never even asked him. I know what some of the list is. But there are some things for him that are not up for vote. Zero. He sees zero value in practicing some things. And there's some things he does practice because he believes they are 100%. When there are a lot of people that don't know what a conviction is, because you're just sort of blow around in the wind and whatever comes along. I'm going to tell you what, Rick has some core convictions. You'd have to kill him before he would do it. He will not do some things. His core convictions. And I'm going to tell you that makes him a very, very influential and strong person for anyone who gets close enough to see that and feel that and know it. And I know you felt it. Care of others. There's been times that my brothers and I have been on trips, and Janine's here too. We're excited she's here, and Philip as well. But there have been times we've done some motorcycle trips, and there's been a death in the church here, something happened. We're out here. We're trying to have a couple days off and go riding motorcycles. And you know what he'll do? I remember him one night getting up in the middle of the night, or just before we went to bed late that night, because there was a death, and it was a crisis death. And he got on his motorcycle. It's not advisable to ride through the mountains. We were in the mountains at nighttime because of animals, deer and all that stuff. And he rode through the night to get back so that he could be here for that family. Now, I've seen that happen over and over with him. And his commitment, he's preached so many funerals. Would you guys stop dying? I'm just, he's preached so many funerals. Every once in a while I get a funeral, I have a younger congregation, and or something, I don't know, or people don't like me, I don't know what it is, they're afraid what I'll say, but I don't do it. So every once in a while I call him, I say, Rick, man, I need a funeral message or something. And he and Randy, man, they do all these funerals. And I say, I don't know how to do funerals. I'm terrible at it. And so they'll help me out, send me stuff and help me along. But he does so many weddings. You guys, everybody stop getting married. What do you do? He's getting divorced every other week and get married again. He does so many. I'll call him. I'm on my way to a wedding. I'm on my way to a wedding. I'm on my way to a funeral. I'm like, man, you need to get out of the funeral and wedding business. How long are you going to do this? Have somebody else do this stuff. He does it because that's his calling. I actually think he loves doing them. I mean, I'm at a point, you want to get married, you get down to the point, I'll say, take you through the I-do's and all that. I don't want to hang out for your reception. I want to hang out for all that other stuff. I'm getting old and crotchety. Rick's like, I'm going to a wedding. I'm going to a funeral. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And that's the kind of pastor you have. He loves this stuff. I'm telling you, he is a pastor through and through. He's a person of prayer. You may not know this, but there's been many nights when you've been sleeping soundly. He's awake and praying for this church, praying for the finances, praying for lost people. He wouldn't get up here and tell you that, and he's probably mad at me for telling you. But it's not an uncommon thing for him to be up sometimes in the night, many times over the years, many, many times over the years. Something on his heart, on his mind, and he lays out before the Lord, sits down before the Lord, and just pours his heart out to God. That's a pastor, folks. He's accountable to God and others, the overseers. It could go on. Unwavering focus through trials. We're not going to stand here today and say, it's all just been peaches and roses. Been some really tough parts of the road. Some of you have been through that sometimes with them. You want me to tell you something? His faith in God through some of those trials has been very humbling to me, because I'm just thinking I'd just taken a big towel and thrown it in or something. He's persevered through some very tough times. He shares his love, his experiences, and his knowledge with other pastors and leaders. I'll have pastor friends of mine from other places, but we wouldn't have common friendship with Rick, that will say to me, hey, I called Rick for a series the other day, or I called him and asked him, would he just do some Skype stuff with me and teach me some stuff and train me? You guys don't know about all that, but he invests in people, not only pastors around the country. He goes overseas and invests in pastors, and sometimes you guys know about some of those trips. He and Karen are a force for God and good. And you get to have him as your pastor. Thank you for loving them and showing such great appreciation to them today. I can tell you, as overseers, we are smiling broadly for the generosity that you guys have shown. You will never know the depth of that gift to Rick and Karen and what it means to them. It's not just the money, but it's what it means, the effort you guys have done, what that means to them. Thank you for loving them. Those of us who are not a part of this church specifically, but we care about it as overseers, are grateful that you see that and you've done that. Thank you so much. I do need to, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Pastor Randy has served here among you guys. Some of you maybe are newer, you don't know him. You're going to get to know him real soon. He is the speaker this weekend, and I need to tell you, Randy is our younger brother, and he got all of his jokes from us. And now he pastors north of Charlotte in Salisbury, North Carolina, has a wonderful ministry there, and God has just used him. You guys know, you probably prayed for him, his heart transplant. Well, this new heart seems to be working very well. He's doing great, and we're very, very grateful to God for that. He's going to share when he came and shared his transplant story with our church in Augusta, Georgia, and I told the congregation, some of them had heard him speak years ago, but they hadn't heard him. A lot of them had not heard him, and I said, he is half preacher and half comedian, and you never know what you're going to get. So just come and be ready. So I just tell you, be ready. Here he comes.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to speak my part tonight. Rod did a good job preaching already. So I just want to talk about Rick tonight. Can I make that change, Dave Cantrell? Where in the world are you? I just don't have time left to get into my thing. Okay, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Rick is my oldest brother. Rick is 8 years my senior, and I know that's obvious. He doesn't look older, but he sure smells it anyway. So that's where that is. And I grew up. I had to share a room after Dad died, and we moved down here to Florida. Mom bought a mobile home, and we lived in that because Dad was a preacher, and that was back when the church's philosophies were, Lord, if you'll keep him humble, we'll keep him poor. And they lived up to their part. I don't know if God did his, but they did theirs. And so we didn't have a lot, and we moved there. Mom bought a trailer, and for some dumb reason, my mom thought that Rick and I could share a room. Have you ever tried to share a twin bed with that guy? I hope not. Now again, I'm 6 years old, he's 14. Guess who got all the shots in the room? They did all the calls, my side. There was no my side. If we went over in the car, I could race out and get in the front seat if I wanted, but I finally learned, Big Brother's got that seat. I grew up in the trunk. And so, it was just that kind of life I had, and it was brutal, but, God in his redeeming love has removed the hatred and bitterness out of my heart, most of it. But anyway, I'm just glad I don't live close to Rick anymore. But anyway, when I got in 8th grade, my brothers all decided they were hanging sheetrock, and I needed to hang sheetrock. They'll tell you I begged, but really they begged me to come along because it's cheap labor. They paid me, and I'm not exaggerating here at all, they paid me $1 an hour and gave me free Pepsis. And they lost money. They'd put me in a closet, and I would work away in the closet. I could spend all day in a closet trying my hardest to hang at those 4 short pieces of drywall on those walls, 6 pieces. And I learned to come out of the closet before that was popular. And so I finally came out of the closet, and I started hanging big longboards is what I did. And And they decided he's slow on that too. They knew I was slow mentally, but they said he's slow on that mentally, mentally. But he's slow hanging sheetrock. We got to make money off this guy. It's cheap labor, $1 an hour. Give him a Pepsi every 3 hours, and he's happy. And so, so Rick said, get up here on these benches. Well, in drywall, we have these things they call drywall benches. They were aluminum. They had adjustable legs on them and all that. I was probably still in 8th grade at the time. I forget which year it was I went to 8th grade. Is it 2nd or 3rd year I was in 8th grade? I'm not sure, but so I'd climb up those benches, and I'd have one end of that drywall board on my head. Have you ever noticed every Addison man you met is flat-headed? They are. And we're thick-skulled, not because of genetics, but because of drywall. Calloused our skulls like you wouldn't believe. And so I would stand there, and that's back before you were screw gunning everything, and so I'm standing there, and I have this thing weighing on my head that weighs about as much as I do, and I'm trying my hardest to get it up there, and they'd make fun of me. Because I'm trying to, learn this trade and be professional in it. They're my big brothers. I honor them. I respect them. I only had one sibling to respect me, and that was my little sister. That's only because she wanted to ride with me when I got my driver's license in places. And so, I would try my hardest. I would. And I'd try, and I'd try to meet Rick in the middle of the board, because that meant I was equal. Rick was never going to allow me to be equal with him. Rick could nail off a drywall board like someone had stuck an air hose in his rear end and forgot to turn it off, man. He was like a jackhammer. All over that thing. I'd come down there and have 3 holes in the board and 2 nails. And you know what he'd tell me? Randy, just jump off. I can do this faster by myself. And so I was just, they have dummy sticks that hold up the end of the board. Then we got into textured sheetrock. And they have a thing called an idiot stick. Guess who got real good on the idiot stick? Yeah, it was me, Randy. Here's the idiot stick. We're going to do the artwork here, and I'm all around the room. That's all I'm doing. That's how I grew up. It was rough. It was terrible. Counseling is still helping. Nice thing where they keep coming out with new medicine, and for some reason they like to experiment on me, and it's working pretty good. But anyway. So anyway, I decided that, all my big brothers, they all went to college to be preachers, and 2 of them decided to do it. And I thought, well, I idolize them. That and Mom called me to preach too, because all my brothers did. And so I thought, well, I'll go. And years later, God followed my mom's lead, and He actually called me to preach. So I've been pastor now for 30 years. And there were times in pastoring that I would really, hit some tough times. And I would call Rick, because Rod was too stupid to help me, so I'd call Rick. And Rick would give me advice. Yeah, Rod was good looking, but he was dumb as a block. So anyway, so I decided to just, I called Rick because I knew he had intelligence. He had no looks, but he had intelligence. And so I'd call Rick and say, Rick, man, this is what I'm going through. What should I do? He said, well, just shoot him. I said, all right. I tried that. I'd be pastoring 40 years if I had spent 10 years in prison for shooting church members. But anyway, I decided then that I was just going to call Rick and get advice. And Rick gave me some incredible advice. And over the years, I would turn to Rick with different things. I remember very early on in my ministry, I called him. I was just torn up. I was ready to quit. And I was about to make a horrible decision. He said, Randy, I wouldn't do that. And I listened. And I thank God, and Rick, you don't know how many times I've thought about that. And I thank God that you were there. Now, I'm in ministry today because of 2 men. One is Dr. Ed Palm. And Dr. Palm died several years ago, tragically. And he was academic dean of the college I went to. And he encouraged me to take my first church. I didn't think I was ready. He said, you can do it, Randy. And I listened to him. And then the other man in my life that I'm in ministry today because of is Rick. And a lot of times you think a pastor only helps a lot of other people, but Rick always had time for me. He always did. I think part of it was guilt because he treated me so horrible when I was a kid, but anyway. But he always had time for me. He made time for me. He would make time to listen to. And then he'd give me some incredible advice. He would. I didn't know Addison was that intelligent, but he is. I mean, you know, my other siblings are all stupid, but Rick got all brain, but they're all good looking though. And so, you know, I'd call Rick and he'd give me all this great advice and I would follow it. But as I went through life and as I began to mature in my own life as an adult and mature in ministry as a pastor, I could look at Rick a lot more than my big brother. I began to look at him and realize that Rick really had been a mentor to me. He'd been a mentor. And as a mentor to me, Rick had helped me learn what was important in ministry. One was absolute honesty. Another was to get focused. You know, I have some medical issues that they give names to that really fight against staying focused. And, you know, one is ADDD, FH or something, I don't know. And it's bad. I have a horrible time staying focused a lot of times, especially if I'm not interested in it. You ought to see my GPA from college. I'm sure they have it posted somewhere, the idiot who attended here, you know, and you know, our worst student ever, you know, it has to be somewhere on a hall. And so, you know, I just couldn't stay focused. If I wasn't interested in it, I didn't give a rip. You know, it's like, who cares? But Rick helped me start caring about some things. And he helped develop a more disciplined look at life and ministry. Another thing he taught me was to always do the right thing. Regardless of popularity, regardless if it costs you friends, regardless if it costs you even church members. Randy, do what you know is right. He didn't tell me that. I watched and learned that. He also taught me that people were what mattered. People matter. And if you don't know Rick well, and if you've not gone through a crisis in your life, you may find that hard to believe, you know. But you matter to Rick. You do. You're one of his sheep, and he is your shepherd. And shepherds do many things. They lead, and Rick's an amazing leader. They want what's best for their sheep. In fact, shepherds lead their sheep through valleys. Did you know that? They lead them through valleys. Because a shepherd, he leads them through a valley because it's always to get to a better place. You know, they don't build shelter in the valley. They go through the valley to a better pasture. And that's a shepherd's goal. He knows, and there's good, sometimes in the valley there's good pastures and everything, but you don't live there. You want to live where the sun is. And I bet there are just scores of people here tonight and tomorrow and people who call the Grace Place their church who have followed their great leader through a very, very, very deep valley in your life. And Rick never wanted you to stay there. He wanted to lead you through that. And he does. He's done it time and time and time again. You know I know? Because that's his heart. He doesn't tell me about him. Rick's a vault, actually. I've tried to get information out of him about some of you here tonight, and he won't tell me. No, but he's a vault. He's an absolute vault. You can tell that man anything you want and tell him, Rick, I don't want to go any further. And it's not. It's not. And I've learned so much from this man. There for a while he thought he was my dad because Dad died when I was so young and he was the big brother. I get out of line, and you poof right on top of my head. You know. I don't remember any of it now, but people tell me he did because he did something up there. I don't know. That's why I'm like I'm in. Yeah, that's why I'm who I am, Rick. Yeah, man. I'll tell you, now I have someone to blame it on. Man, that's good, you know. But anyway, no, but he had a heart for me. And it's not only for me because I'm his brother, but it's for you because you're his people. And you know what he did? He decided to marry Karen when he was about 12, I think. I'll never forget, I walked in the trailer one night, and Mom's sitting there in the kitchen, and Rick's on a stool. I'm going to do it. Mom said, no, you're too young. You know, Mom could cry and get her way most of the time with us, and that's all she had to do, because we all loved Mom to pieces. She was amazing. A lot of you knew her. Wasn't she amazing? Yeah, I mean, I think she was incredible. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. I went and saw her yesterday. She didn't talk back, though, and I was glad. But anyway, but Mom was, you know, she said, no, you're not, you're too young. Said, Mom, I'm a man. I don't remember all the language that went on. Mom, I can do, yeah. And is what he was doing. He's trying to convince Mom at 18 years old that he could marry Karen when he's 19. We're going to be engaged for a year, Mom, you know, or whatever it was. I don't even think it was a year. I'm not going to go into details of that. But anyway, it was it was a whirlwind. Woo! You know, I'm going to marry her. And I know why he wanted to. There's only one reason he wanted to marry her that young, because he realized she was still young and dumb and wouldn't say no. So he said, before she matures and see me, I want to marry her. I did the same thing. You know, it works. And so, you know, don't let them get smart before you ask them, guys. Come on. All of us would be bachelors if we'd done that. And so she said yes. I think he threatened her, because Rick used to be a big muscle guy. He did. And I don't know if he said, oh, you learned to hate. I don't know what it was, but she said, yeah, I'll marry you. And so I had to take the gun from him when he was proposing to her. But, so they got married. They were 19 years old, and they were kids. You know, I used to always think that was old enough, but it wasn't. So I waited till I was 20. But anyway, and but my wife was 19. So, hey, she was beautiful. Yeah. And we were committed to sexual purity, so we weren't going to date much longer. Is that or sin? I mean, it's like, you marry me now, you know? So we married. I mean, she's good looking. You ought to see her. Woo! I love being in the same room where because at least people will look at the room then, you know, they look at the room. And so we got married. Yeah. I'm glad we did. But anyway, we'll move on. And some of you with kids, they're in kids' church. We can say what we want now, can't we? No, we'll move on. But you know, we had to realize, yeah, Mom had to realize Rick could do it. And he got married with her blessings. And she loved Karen. And Karen, am I wrong to say that you were one of Mom's daughters? And Janann had to learn to share Mom with another woman. And Janann still hates Karen, but anyway, she had to do that. They've been married now, how old are you guys? How many? Okay. She has lived through 44 years of hell. And we're talking a lot about Rick. I think we see shift gears, start talking about Karen. You know, I don't know where she stores the wings and the halo. She's got to have them. She could be the biggest sinner in the county, and God still let her in heaven just for putting up with him all those years. But I put up with him from about birth till, I don't know, I was probably about 12 when he got married. No, I wasn't even that. I was 11, I think. You know, and I'm still scarred. So anyway, God bless. I love you, Karen. You're awesome. And isn't she awesome? She is. And yeah. I say all that to say this. You're one lucky congregation. You are. Rick and Karen are two of the hardest working people I know. And I'm here to tell you about everybody in this room just lazy, sorry for good nothing slugs compared to them. We are. But I love life. I think they're trying to end it as quick as they can. They're working themselves to death. Rick's about to succeed if he doesn't quit, I'll tell you. It's like, come on, dummy, put on the brakes. And so, you know, but you guys are so blessed. I remember when they came here 25 years ago. I was about 12 back then, and they came, and I was so happy for them. And so they moved here, had that one building over there in the preschool building, and quickly, God blessed the ministry, and that became too small. And then Rick, always the yard sale shopper he is at heart, you know, he found Pratt & Whitney, who'd give him a bunch of buildings if he'd pay $150 million to move them, and then another $150 million to set them up. But they were free. Yeah, it's a good deal, church. I would tell you, the guy could sell water to a person in the pool drowning. You know, well, here's a gallon of water. I'll buy it. You know. He sold y'all on that most stupid idea I'd ever seen in my life, and it turned out to be the best idea he'd ever had. It was amazing. From outside, you're going to move how many of those things over there and set them back up again and hope they all go together? I can't even put a puzzle together. You know, how do you put buildings together like that? But you know what? He did. And you know why? He's a man of vision. Absolute man of vision. He's a man of purpose. He's a man that when he has a vision, just get out of his way. You know, you get the vision too, or you move over, because he's coming through. There's that focus. But I'm here to tell you, if this church had not hired him with his vision, and God not given him his vision, and he not been so passionate about it, we'd probably be in some crowded room right now, wishing, you know, man, we wish we'd have caught the vision with him. I know some of you were here back in those days, and you've watched that vision grow and grow and grow and grow into what it is tonight. And you know what? I talked to Rick, and can I tell you, he's not through. Devil's trying to kill him right now with his heart. He really is. And you know why? Because the devil's scared to death what Rick's going to do next. We all are, but anyway, the devil is too. And I just want you to understand something. When he gets well again, he's going to, because my Aunt Mary's here, and she's praying for him. And I'm going to tell you what, when Mary prays, the devil runs and hides. I'm here to tell you. I don't know where you are, Aunt Mary, but God bless you. I'm alive partly because of you. Yep, there you are. If you ever want anyone to pray for you, call me. I'm really spiritual. No, call someone very, Mary, my Aunt Mary, call her. Mary, I need you to pray for him. She'll pray for you like you won't believe. And she's praying for Rick. You know what? He's going to be all right. It's just hard for me to believe God's done with that man yet. And I can't wait till he feels good. He's done more feeling lousy over the past several years than most of us do our entire lives, feeling good. And so I just can't wait till it feels good. In fact, I think he's already talking to realtors about buying the rest of the county and making it a church. But anyway, hey, convince Karen to marry him. He ought to be able to convince sinners to come to church. I don't know. But you know, God has a plan for all of us. And God has wired some people so well that they see that plan, they are able to understand that plan, and they're able to focus on that plan, and they're able to see that plan that God has given them come about. And that has happened here time and time and time again, and it's going to continue. God bless you all. You're great to Rick and Karen, and I love you for it, because now the rest of the family's good to them. So we're glad you guys are, all right? God bless you.